Everybody, welcome back. The Purplatypus is the name. Today, we are talking about the 5 units that if you get in your initial account, you might want to consider re-rolling the account. These are going to be the 5 worst characters in the game at launch. Now, couple side notes here. 1, all characters are viable and they're usable. All right, this is just if you're a free-to-play player and you're trying to min-max, there are going to be characters that do these jobs just better, which we'll talk about in future videos. And this is mostly just this isn't to like shit on your favorite character, as there happens to be a character on this list that I'm going to be pulling for aggressively because I really think they're cool. And honestly, that's okay. So I'm not trying to make your favorite character bad, but these are the characters that are going to be the worst. Now, another caveat. This is coming from TW, Region, and other players. I have not played the game myself yet, so I don't actually know how good or bad these characters are from a personal experience. This is based off tier lists of players that have played the game for a long time. So we're putting our faith in them essentially. And they've I try to get them to explain to me exactly why each character isn't considered very good. That way I could try to articulate it at least a little bit, but this isn't going to be super in-depth for every character. But without further ado, let's jump in. So I have the translated names and I have the official names here. The official name for they're pretty close, but they'll just be spelled differently. Taiden, T-E-A-D-O-N. So this character's main issue, hold up, let me pull the music back up, turn it off. This character's main issue is that he just is kind of a one-trick pony. He's just kind of a defense thing. Like, so his passive here is that at the end of his turn, he does a alert in front of him, right? And he gets blocked and he gets alert. So if enemies try to move around him or whatever, he's good at stopping movement and stuff like that. But I feel like because it's like a line in front of him, you can move away from him and then move around and still get around it. It doesn't feel like it's actually that hard to get around this. Also, this list is going to be from a PvE perspective, mostly. But it just doesn't seem like it's that good. His damage isn't that good. And it's a lot of this is, if you look at his stuff, it's a lot of like increasing his defense, making it so he could do reactions to do a little bit. It's like bad scaling with really long cooldowns. And a lot of it is like the alert stuff, which doesn't seem to be that good on a melee character because your alert range is so low. Even though this specific ability seems pretty good. However, they have very expensive costs and typically long cooldowns. So they're just a little bit lackluster in that regard. However, I do think this character is really cool looking. Now, my personal favorite character in the game from a visual standpoint that I've seen so far, because I'm an edgy boy, and that is Guzman here. Guzman. This is the same way it is spelled in the game. I mean, what a fucking cool, badass design character, if you ask me. So what's this guy's problem? And it's honestly, this one isn't that clear to me. He seems like he'd be pretty good in the PvP area. But from my understanding is that he's just kind of got low scaling on his abilities. So his gimmick is basically he dies and he comes back to life. When he's about to die, he gets increased attack power. And when he's defeated, he turns into a corpse with reduced defense. And then they basically, if they don't kill the corpse, he'll come back to life. I don't know what his HP is when he comes back to life, but that's basically, he's got a self-revive. But I think it takes a couple turns, so it's kind of slow. And he gets way less defense. So if he died once, it's actually quite a bit easier to kill him the second time as a corpse. So he's kind of got a Phoenix ability here, which I think is really cool. But other than that, I think a lot of his issue is that a lot of his stuff is based on getting himself low on life. And like one of his ability here is just like, hey, reduce your own health by like 45% or something. Yeah, sacrifice 45% of your health. And then you get a pretty big boost, including regeneration. And I really like the idea of this, especially as an instant ability. So you could use this and then attack for a heavy amount. But apparently it doesn't really work out that way very much. A lot of his stuff is also debuffs on the enemy. And I think when he becomes the corpse, like his passive debuffs and stuff kind of turn off. So it's one of those things where this is a character I don't fully understand why they're not good, but this guy is like memed on. He's like considered like the worst in the game. And you know what? I'm gonna get him 5 stars, 100%, because look how fucking cool he is. And I'll be doing the Guzman meme build for my at least launch party. Next up, we got Miguel here. And now I feel like Miguel is just kind of, he's a cool character, but I feel like he's a little gimmicky here in what I'm understanding. So his main trait here is he gets passive attack damage, and he does, anytime he does physical damage, he applies burn. But he's got this other thing that's all about movement. A lot of his kit is based around movement and positioning, which can be good, but I think just dealing twice as much damage is usually better than just moving around. But it is a tactic theme, so I actually think this character might be decent in PvP. But basically, they could vault over enemy forces, allies. Can they? Is there neutrals in this game? No, friendly forces, enemies, and neutral characters. So there will be neutral characters. Movement is not consumed, so he has an incredible amount of mobility. You can do this up to 3 times per round, so you can like hop, hop, hop. And if you hop over someone, you're going to get an energy back. So you're once per round. If you could hop 3 times, but only one of those 3 times will give you an energy back, as long as you haven't used a skill. So he actually has a really good, basically double the skill regeneration of a lot of characters. The downside is a lot of this is, he has like a lot of like AoE and stuff, and just none of his damage numbers seem to be that good. However, like this is a lot, a lot of them are expensive, even though he has double. A lot of them have decently long cooldowns. However, where I think this guy might actually shine is with kick, which sounds really lame, but it's 3 energy and it knocks somebody back 2 squares. You can knock someone off of edges in this game to kill them. And I think because he has the ability to jump behind people, I think that his positioning is probably going to be close to unparalleled. I think he's mostly going to be a kick thing. But if your most powerful ability on paper is kick, I think there's probably issue there. I just think the damage numbers aren't that good. He's kind of a half debuff or half damage dealer with a lot of movement, and just doesn't really seem to excel in anything that is. It's basically not that he's terrible, like a lot of these characters. It's that other characters are really good. So in comparison, they're not very good. Next up, we got Leonid. This character, I think, is, again, a lot of these are really cool designs. You know, not many of the waifus are making it on this list. I can't help but notice. Probably not a coincidence. Now, I think that the main issue with this guy, he is like a charging master. That's what he does. He runs in and he charges and he does a big hit, and then he kind of goes on cooldown a little bit. At least this passive does. So before attacking, you can basically charge, and then every square you move increases your damage. And then if you charge, it basically, if you use an ability, you also receive less damage for the next 2 rounds. And if you charge more than 5 squares, you ignore the target's block and their dodge. And then it goes on cooldown for a turn. So I think the issue is here is like a lot of his stuff is kind of based around that. We look at, where's the ability here? Assault stance, right? You get to use this instantly, increase your range by 2, your movement range by 2, but you can only move in a straight line. So you can kind of do a lot of really good damage in one hit on one character one time, but it's not easy to charge 5 squares or to actually get good value out of this, right? It's tough to, if you always, sometimes you're next to the thing you want to attack. So if you have to try to maneuver around to get these little bit of extra damage, I feel like it's more just difficult to use consistently, and that he's more of a all-in, almost an assassin in some ways. Like you just see someone across the map, you just, boom, you kill that one. You attempt to kill that one, but then after that, you're kind of just like, all right, well, now he's just kind of an average character. So I like this character. Again, this is kind of a fun play style, and I like this style of character, but apparently he just doesn't make it into PvE. I bet things just have too much HP where it just doesn't die, and the consistency is low. I bet PvP on equal footing, this has some pretty powerful applications. Finally is Iggy. It says Itchy here, but in the game, it's as Iggy. So this character kind of just suffers from a similar thing where it's like they're really good in a very specific situation, and it's hard to make that situation come up a lot. So they have this kind of cool ability. They could jump and climb, and they get increased damage when they attack, which is cool, but a lot of characters get things like that. But when they're on a high ground, they actually double the effect. So they're getting like, what, 32% bonus attack when they're attacking on high ground, and they gain armor piercing. That's strong, right? They could jump, they can climb, they want to be on high ground, so they have a good way to get up there on high ground. The issue is this is like a melee character. It's not entirely a melee character. Like there are some ranged abilities, but like, so if you're using your energy that you get every turn for abilities, some of these are expensive. This is 4, right? This one's 2 with a 3-turn cooldown. So some of your abilities will have a like range to them, but not a ton of them. And the ones that do have really long cooldowns are really expensive. Then you're going to be using like melee attack. So it's really hard to be on high ground and be in melee at the same time consistently. If an enemy's somewhere and you want to hit them and there's just not a tile directly next to them that's on high ground, that's annoying. And so you're going to want to be getting high ground and then using your range, but the range isn't that far. And so for me, it just feels like a kit that doesn't really make sense unless you're on if you're on a terrain with a ton of verticality to it. This actually might be one of the better characters for that specific map. But as just far as like general fighting goes, yeah, there's definitely some good stuff here. But nothing is like insane. Like this is also like, oh, when you have no damage on you, you get your you get to increase your movement by 1. You get an extra high ground. You get extra damage when attacking from high ground, things like that. But it's like the combination of like when you get like your 9th level super attack, it's a melee attack and a melee attack. So that's kind of annoying. And then, yeah, you have a throw. The throw isn't like insane. It's like fine, but like this is where like most of your damage is coming from. So overall, I feel like it's just a kit that doesn't quite come together. At least that's kind of what it was explained for me and kind of what I'm, the conclusions I'm drawing based off reading it, because in some maps I could see this being a pretty good character. So again, I'm not trying to shit on anyone's favorite character. The title of this video is probably a little aggressive, but that's the YouTube game. But you know what? If you guys get these characters, you might want to consider re-rolling your account, because we're going to talk about them probably tomorrow, maybe the next day, but some of the super powerful characters. And again, it's not that these characters are unusable. It's just that there are some really powerful characters out there that are really going to help carry your account. And when you start clearing a lot of content because you have the powerful characters, you suddenly have more resources, and then you'll end up getting these guys eventually anyway, and then you'll be able to play them and have fun. Especially because I think some of these characters could be pretty good in PvP, but only time will tell. Anyway, that's all for today. Much love. Purplatypus is Purplatypus. Bye!
Platypus on the rise, watch the view.